The air in the living room was thick with the kind of silence that suffocates. The kind that follows a scream no one dares acknowledge. I stood there, my hands trembling, staring at the woman who raised me. The woman I thought I knew, as she sat defiant on the couch, her eyes blazing with something between guilt and fury. In my hand was the proof pages of bank statements, forged signatures, and emails that unraveled a secret so vile it made my stomach churn. I'm Emily, 30 years old, a graphic designer who always believed family was the one thing you could count on. Growing up in our modest suburban home in Ohio, I idolized my mother, Margaret, a charismatic woman who could charm anyone with her quick wit and warm smile. She was the glue of our family, Dad, me, and my younger sister, Lily. But that image shattered 3 weeks ago when I stumbled across an email on her laptop, one she'd left open by mistake. It was a confirmation of a wire transfer $50,000 to an account I didn't recognize, signed with a name that wasn't hers. At first, I thought it was a mistake, a glitch. Maybe Mom was helping someone. But the deeper I dug, the uglier it got. She'd been siphoning money from Dad's small business for years, forging his signature to fund a life she hid from us all. Offshore accounts, luxury purchases, even donations to charities in her name to boost her image at the local country club. My mother, the saint of our community, was a fraud. And I was the one who found her out. Emily, you don't understand, Mom said now, her voice low, almost a hiss. You're blowing this out of proportion. Out of proportion, I snapped, waving the papers. You stole from Dad. From us. Do you know what this could do to him? To Lily. Dad stood frozen by the doorway, his face pale. The man who'd worked 60-hour weeks to keep his hardware store afloat, now staring at his wife like she was a stranger. Lily, barely 16, curled up on the armchair, her phone forgotten in her lap, her wide eyes darting between us. The room felt like it was closing in, the walls heavy with the weight of betrayal. I hadn't meant to confront her like this, not in front of everyone. I'd planned to talk to her alone, to give her a chance to explain. But when I saw her laughing over coffee that morning, acting like everything was fine, something in me snapped. I couldn't let her keep lying. Not anymore. Margaret, Dad finally said, his voice barely above a whisper. Is this true? Mom's eyes flicked to him, and for a moment, I saw fear. But then her mask slipped back on. Tom, don't listen to her. She's always been dramatic. She's twisting things. Twisting things. I laughed, bitter and sharp. I have proof. Mom. Emails. Bank records. You've been stealing for years. She stood, her posture rigid, her hands smoothing her skirt like she was preparing for a board meeting. You have no idea what it takes to keep this family afloat, she said. Your father's business was failing. I did what I had to do. Failing. Dad's voice cracked. Margaret, we were fine. We were fine. The room spun. I felt like I was drowning in her lies. How could she justify this? How could she look at Dad, at Lily, at me, and think this was okay? I wanted to scream, to shake her until she admitted the truth. But something in her eyes stopped me, a flicker of desperation, like a cornered animal. Emily, she said, stepping closer, her voice softening. You don't know the whole story. Let's talk. Just you and me. I shook my head, stepping back. No. You don't get to manipulate me anymore. This ends now. That was the moment I decided. I wasn't just going to confront her. I was going to expose her to Dad, to Lily, to everyone she'd fooled. But I had no idea how far she'd go to protect her secrets, or how much it would cost us all. The next few days were a blur of tension and silence. Dad moved into the guest room, barely speaking to anyone. Lily stopped coming out of her room, her music blaring through the walls as if she could drown out the chaos. I spent hours combing through the evidence, piecing together the extent of Mom's fraud. It wasn't just Dad's business. She'd taken out loans in his name, maxed out credit cards, even forged documents to secure a second mortgage on our house. The total? Nearly $300. 000. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Mom's face. That smug confidence she wore like armor. I kept asking myself how I'd missed it. The late-night phone calls she dismissed as work. The new designer bags she claimed were gifts. The way she'd dodge questions about money. I'd trusted her. We all had. I decided to confront her again, this time with a plan. I'd gathered every document, every email, every transaction, and stored them on a USB drive. I wasn't sure what I'd do with it yet. Go to the police, a lawyer, or just show Dad everything, but I needed her to know I wasn't backing down. Mom, I said one evening, finding her in the kitchen, sipping wine like nothing was wrong. We need to talk. She didn't look up. I'm done talking. Emily, you've made your point. No, you don't get it, I said, my voice shaking. This isn't just about you and me. This is about Dad's life's work. Lily's future. You don't get to walk away from this. She set her glass down, her eyes cold. And what are you going to do? Ruin me. Destroy this family. Because that's what you're doing. Emily, you're tearing us apart. Her words hit like a slap. Was I the one tearing us apart? For a moment, doubt crept in. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe there was an explanation. But then I remembered the numbers, the lies, the years of deceit. No, she didn't get to turn this on me. I'm not the one who lied, I said, but I'm going to make sure everyone knows the truth. Her face hardened. You'll regret this, she said, her voice low and venomous. You have no idea what you're starting. I didn't know then how right she was. I didn't know that exposing her would unravel everything, our family, my trust, even my sense of who I was. But I was done living in her shadow, done letting her control the narrative. This was my stand, and I was ready to fight. The kitchen felt colder after Mom's threat, her words lingering like a storm cloud. I clutched the USB drive in my pocket, its weight a reminder of the truth I couldn't unsee. I wasn't just fighting for Dad or Lily anymore. It was fighting for the life we'd built, the one she'd torn apart with every forged signature. The next morning, I met with Dad at his hardware store, a small, cluttered space that smelled of sawdust and metal. He looked older than his 60 years. His shoulders slumped as he sorted invoices behind the counter. I'd asked him to meet me here, away from Mom, away from the house that felt like a battlefield. Dad, I started, setting the USB drive on the counter. You need to see this. All of it. He stared at the drive like it was a bomb. Emily, I don't know if I can handle this. You have to, I said, my voice firm but gentle. She's been lying to you for years. You deserve to know. He nodded slowly, his hands trembling as he plugged the drive into his ancient laptop. I watched his face as he scrolled through the file's bank statements, loan agreements, emails to a man named Richard Holt, someone I hadn't yet figured out. With each click, his expression shifted from disbelief to devastation. How could she do this? He whispered, his voice breaking. We've been married 35 years. I trusted her. I reached for his hand, but he pulled away, his eyes fixed on the screen. I need time. Emily, he said. Just leave me alone for a while. I left the store feeling like I'd betrayed him too, like I'd forced him to see a truth he wasn't ready for. But I couldn't stop now. I had to know who Richard Holt was, why his name appeared in so many of Mom's emails. I spent the afternoon at a coffee shop, my laptop open, digging through public records and social media. Richard Holt was a financial advisor, mid-50s, with a polished LinkedIn profile and a reputation for helping wealthy clients maximize their investments. His photo showed a man with a slick smile, the kind that made my skin crawl. One email from Mom to Richard stood out. Need to move another $20,000 by Friday. Make it quick. The date was 6 months ago, right before Dad had complained about a slow quarter at the store. I cross-referenced the account numbers and found a pattern. Every transfer to Richard's accounts coincided with a dip in Dad's business funds. This wasn't just fraud. It was a system, a partnership. Mom wasn't working alone. That night, I went to Lily's room. She was on her bed, scrolling through her phone, her earbuds blasting music. When she saw me, she yanked them out, her face wary. What now? Emily. More drama. I need you to hear me out, I said, sitting beside her. Mom's been stealing from Dad. From us. I found proof. Lily's eyes widened, but she didn't speak. I told her everything: the money, the loans, Richard Holt. Her face crumpled, and for the first time, I saw how young she still was, how much she'd been shielded from Mom's lies. She said she was saving for my college. Lily whispered. She promised me. I know, I said, my throat tight. But we're going to fix this. Together. Lily nodded, but her eyes were distant, like she was already bracing for the fallout. I hated that I'd dragged her into this, but I couldn't let Mom's lies poison her too. I needed an ally, someone who understood what was at stake. The next step was riskier. I contacted a lawyer, Sarah Bennett, a friend from college who specialized in financial fraud. Over coffee, I showed her the evidence. Her eyes narrowed as she scanned the documents. Emily, this is serious, she said. Your mom could face jail time. And this Richard Holt, he's likely an accomplice. You need to be careful. Careful. I laughed. Bitter. She's the one who should be careful. She's destroyed our family. Sarah leaned forward, her voice low. If you go public with this, it's not just her. Your dad's business could collapse under the scrutiny. Lily's life, your life will all be dragged through the mud. Are you ready for that? Her words hit hard. I hadn't thought about the collateral damage, only about justice. But the image of Lily's tearful face, Dad's broken expression, kept me grounded. I had to do this, not just for me, but for them, for the truth. I'm ready, I said, though my heart pounded with doubt. That night, I got a text from Mom. Meet me at the house. Alone. We need to settle this. I stared at the message, my pulse racing. Was this a trap? A plea? I didn't know, but I couldn't back down. I drove to the house, the USB drive in my pocket, my resolve hardening with every mile. Whatever she had to say, I was ready to face her. But when I walked in, Mom wasn't alone. Richard Holt stood beside her, his slick smile from the photo now aimed at me. Emily, he said, his voice smooth as oil. Your mother tells me you've been causing trouble. My stomach dropped. This wasn't just a confrontation anymore. This was war. The living room felt like a courtroom, with Mom and Richard Holt standing like prosecutors ready to tear me apart. His presence threw me off his tailored suit, his smug confidence, the way he stood too close to Mom, like they shared a secret language. I gripped the USB drive in my pocket, my only weapon in this standoff. Emily, Mom said, her voice calm but laced with venom. You need to stop this. You're making a mistake. A mistake. I shot back, my voice shaking with anger. You stole from Dad. You lied to us. And now you're standing here with him. I gestured at Richard, whose smile didn't falter. Richard's been helping me, Mom said, her tone infuriatingly reasonable. You don't understand the pressure I've been under. Your father's business was struggling. I did what I had to do to keep us afloat. Stop lying, I shouted, my voice echoing off the walls. Dad's business was fine until you started draining it. I have proof. Mom, I know everything. Richard stepped forward, his hands raised like he was calming a wild animal. Let's all take a breath, he said. Emily, you're upset, and And I get it. But what you've got there. He nodded at my pocket. It's not the full picture. Your mother was protecting your family. Protecting us. I laughed. The sound bitter and raw. By forging Dad's signature. By taking out loans he didn't know about. By working with you. His eyes narrowed. Just for a moment. Before the smile returned. You're young. You don't understand how finances work. Sometimes tough choices have to be made. I wanted to scream. To throw the USB drive at his smug face. But I held it together. My mind racing. They were trying to gaslight me. To make me doubt what I knew was true. I couldn't let them win. I'm done listening to your excuses. I said, looking at Mom. I'm taking this to the police. To a lawyer. To anyone who'll listen. Mom's face paled. But Richard just chuckled. A low, condescending sound. Go ahead, he said. But think about what that'll do to your father. To your sister. You'll ruin them too. His words echoed Sarah's warning. And for a moment, I faltered. What if he was right? What if exposing Mom destroyed everything? But then I thought of Dad's broken expression. Lily's tearful eyes. The years of trust Mom had shattered. I couldn't let her get away with it. I'd rather ruin her than let her keep lying. I said, my voice steady now. This ends tonight. I turned to leave. But Mom grabbed my arm. Her grip tight. Emily, please, she whispered. Her eyes desperate. You're my daughter. Don't do this. I yanked my arm free. My heart breaking even as my resolve hardened. You stopped being my mother the moment you chose yourself over us. I left the house. My chest tight. My mind a whirlwind of anger and grief. I drove straight to Sarah's office, handing her the USB drive. Do whatever it takes. I told her. File charges. Sue. Whatever. Just make her pay. Sarah nodded. Her expression grim. This is going to get ugly. Emily. Are you sure? I'm sure. I said, though my hands were shaking. I can't let her win. The next week was chaos. Sarah filed a formal complaint with the police, citing fraud and forgery. Detectives contacted me, asking for statements, copies of the evidence, everything. Dad refused to talk to me, locked in his own grief. Lily texted me late at night. Her messages a mix of anger and fear. Why are you doing this? You're breaking us apart. I wanted to protect her, to shield her from the fallout. But I couldn't. The truth was out, and there was no going back. Then came the call from Sarah. Richard Holt had a history. He'd been investigated for financial misconduct before, but nothing stuck. He was slippery, connected, and dangerous. And Mom, she was his partner, not his victim. The realization hit me like a punch. Mom hadn't just made a mistake. She'd chosen Richard. Chosen the money. Chosen the lies. I felt like I was losing her all over again. Not just as a mother, but as a person I thought I knew. I confronted Lily again, needing her to understand. She's not who you think, I said, sitting on her bed as she stared at her phone, avoiding my eyes. She's been working with this guy, Richard. They've been stealing together. Lily's head snapped up, her eyes wet. So what? You're just going to send her to jail. She's our mom. Emily. I know, I said, my voice cracking. But she hurt us. She hurt Dad. We can't let her keep doing it. Lily shook her head, tears spilling over. You're ruining everything. I hate you for this. Her words cut deeper than Mom's lies. I left her room, my heart heavy, wondering if I'd made the right choice. But I couldn't stop now. The police were moving forward, and Sarah was building a case. Mom and Richard would face consequences. But at what cost? I was starting to see the price of truth, and it was more than I'd ever imagined. The police station was cold, sterile, the kind of place that stripped away any pretense of warmth. I sat across from Detective Harris, a gruff man in his 50s who looked like he'd seen too many cases like mine. I handed him the USB drive, watching as he plugged it into his computer, his face unreadable as he scanned the files. This is solid evidence. Emily, he said, leaning back in his chair. Your mother and Richard Holt are in deep. We're looking at multiple counts of fraud, forgery, maybe even embezzlement. But I need to ask why now. Why turn her in? I swallowed hard, the question hitting me like a wave. Because she lied to us, I said. To my dad, my sister, me. She's been stealing for years, and I couldn't let her keep doing it. He nodded, jotting something down. Fair enough. But you should know. This'll get messy. Court cases, media attention, the works. Your family's going to feel it. I knew he was right. I'd seen the headlines, already local papers sniffing around, whispering about financial irregularities at Dad's store. Mom had always been the darling of our community, sharing charity events, smiling for photos. Now her reputation was unraveling, and I was the one holding the thread. When I got home, the house was eerily quiet. Dad was at the store, Lily at school, and Mom, well, I didn't know where she was. She'd been avoiding me since the confrontation with Richard, leaving voicemails that swung between pleading and accusing. Emily, you're destroying me. Her last message said, I'm your mother. How could you do this? I deleted it, my hands shaking. I wanted to feel strong, righteous, but all I felt was hollow. I'd exposed her. Yes, but at what cost? Lily hated me. Dad could barely look at me. And Mom, she was spinning a new narrative, painting me as the villain who'd torn our family apart. I called Sarah, needing reassurance. She's saying I ruined her life. I told her, my voice barely steady. What if she's right? She's not, Sarah said firmly. Emily, she made choices. She broke the law. You're holding her accountable, not destroying her. But Lily, I said, Dad, they're caught in the crossfire. Sarah sighed. That's the hard part. Truth has a cost. But you're doing this for them, too. Don't forget that. Her words helped, but only a little. I spent the next few days digging deeper into Richard Holt, determined to understand his role. I found articles about his past shady deals, clients who'd lost thousands. But he always slipped through the cracks. He was a predator, and Mom had fallen right into his trap. Or had she? The more I learned, the less I saw her as a victim. She'd been an active player, signing every document, making every transfer. Then came the bombshell. Sarah called me late one night, her voice urgent. Emily, we got a break. One of Richard's former clients came forward. He's got evidence emails, recordings that tie Richard and your mom to a larger scheme. They were targeting small businesses, not just your dad's. I felt sick. How many others? At least 3 that we know of, Sarah said. But Emily, this changes things. The DA's interested now. This could go federal. Federal. The word echoed in my mind. Fraud was one thing, but a federal case, that meant prison, not just fines or probation. I thought of Mom in a cell, her charm useless behind bars. I thought of Lily, losing her mother. I thought of Dad, facing the world with a failed business and a broken marriage. I went to see Dad at the store, hoping to bridge the gap between us. He was restocking shelves, his movements mechanical. Dad, I said softly, I'm sorry. I didn't want this to happen. He didn't look at me. You should have told me first. Emily, not the police, not a lawyer. Me. I tried. I said, tears stinging my eyes. You didn't want to see it. He set a box down, his hands shaking. She's my wife. I loved her. And now, his voice broke, and he turned away. I left the store, my heart heavy. I'd wanted to protect him, but I'd hurt him instead. And Lily, she wouldn't even speak to me. I was losing them both, all to expose a truth that might destroy us all. Then Mom called. "Emily," she said, her voice raw. "Meet me at the park. Please. I need to explain." Against my better judgment, I went. She was there, alone, sitting on a bench, her face drawn and tired. For the first time, she looked vulnerable, not the polished woman who'd lied to us all. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she said, her eyes on the ground. "Richard promised it was temporary. A way to fix things. I thought I was saving us." "Saving us?" I snapped. "You stole from Dad. You lied to Lily. You used me to keep up your image." She flinched, tears welling. "I know I messed up, but I'm still your mother. Please, Emily, stop this before it's too late." I wanted to believe her, to see the woman I'd loved my whole life. But the evidence, the lies, Richard's smug face, they were all I could see. "It's already too late," I said, walking away, my heart breaking with every step. The park bench conversation haunted me for days. Mom's tears, her plea for forgiveness, not at my resolve. I wanted to hate her, to see her as the villain. But she was still my mother, the woman who'd tuck me in at night, who'd cheered at my school plays. Could I really send her to prison? I pushed the thought aside, focusing on the case. Sarah called with updates. The DA was building a case against Mom and Richard, using the evidence from the USB drive and the new witness. They'd uncovered more victims too, other small business owners who'd lost everything to Richard's schemes. With Mom's help, the scope of their fraud was staggering, and the media was starting to catch wind. A local news outlet ran a story, "Local woman implicated in small business fraud scheme." They didn't name Mom yet, but it was only a matter of time. At home, the fallout was unbearable. Lily had stopped going to school, too humiliated by the whispers about our family. Dad spent every night at the store, avoiding the house, avoiding me. I felt like a ghost in my own life, haunted by the choices I'd made. I tried talking to Lily, knocking on her door one evening. "Lily, please," I said through the wood. "I need you to understand." The door opened, and she stood there, her eyes red and angry. "Understand what?" "That you're trying to ruin Mom's life. That you don't care about us." "I care," I said, my voice breaking. "That's why I'm doing this." "She hurt us. Lily. She's been lying for years." "Maybe she had a reason," Lily shouted. "Did you ever think of that? You're so busy playing hero. You didn't even ask her why." Her words stung because they were true. I'd been so focused on the evidence, on justice, that I hadn't stopped to ask why Mom did it. Was it greed? Desperation? Something else? I thought of her at the park, her voice raw, her eyes pleading. Maybe there was more to the story. I called Sarah, my mind racing. "Can we get Mom to talk? Maybe cut a deal. If she testifies against Richard, maybe." "Emily," Sarah interrupted, her tone gentle but firm. "Your mom's not a victim here. She was an active participant. The DA's not likely to go easy on her." "But what if she was manipulated?" I asked, grasping at straws. "Richard's a pro at this. What if he pressured her?" Sarah sighed. "It's possible, but you'd need evidence. And right now, everything points to her being complicit." I hung up, my head spinning. I wanted to believe Mom had been coerced, that she wasn't the mastermind. But the emails, the signatures, the years of lies, they all pointed to her. Still, I couldn't shake the image of her at the park, broken and scared. I decided to dig deeper into Richard. I spent hours online, tracking his connections, his past deals. I found a forum where former clients vented about his investment opportunities that never panned out. One post mentioned a woman who'd worked with him, someone who sounded a lot like Mom, charming, persuasive, the perfect front for his schemes. Was that her role? His partner or his pawn? I confronted Dad again, this time at home. He was in the garage, sorting tools, his face etched with exhaustion. "Dad," I said, Did you ever suspect anything about Mom and the money? He set down a wrench, his shoulders sagging. I trusted her, he said. She handled the finances. I thought she was helping me. Did she ever mention Richard Holt? I asked. He frowned, thinking. Once or twice. Said he was a consultant, someone who could grow the business. I didn't think much of it. I showed him an email from Mom to Richard, one where she talked about redirecting funds. His face crumpled, and he sat down hard on a stool. I should have seen it. He whispered. I should have known. It's not your fault, I said, kneeling beside him. She fooled us all. He looked at me, his eyes wet. You're my daughter, Emily. I'm proud of you for standing up. But I don't know if I can forgive you for what this is doing to us. His words were a knife to my heart. I'd wanted to protect him, but I'd shattered his world instead. I left the garage, tears streaming down my face, wondering if I'd made the biggest mistake of my life. Then came the call from Detective Harris. We've got Richard Holt in custody, he said. He's talking, trying to pin it all on your mom. Says she was the one calling the shots. My blood ran cold. Was Richard lying to save himself? Or was Mom deeper in this than I'd ever imagined? I had to find out, even if it meant facing her one last time. Richard's arrest hit like a thunderclap, shaking the fragile remains of our family. The news was everywhere: local TV, papers, even social media posts from neighbors who'd once adored Mom. Prominent community member arrested in fraud scandal. The headlines screamed, and though they didn't name her yet, the whispers were growing louder. I felt the weight of every stare, every hushed conversation. As I walked through town, I went to see Mom at the police station, where she was being questioned. She sat across from me in a small, gray room, her hands cuffed, her face pale but defiant. Emily, she said, her voice low, you've gone too far. Me? I snapped, leaning forward. You're the one in handcuffs. Mom, Richard's saying you were the mastermind. Is that true? Her eyes flickered, but she didn't flinch. He's lying, she said. He's always been good at that. You don't know him like I do. Then tell me, I said, my voice cracking. Tell me why you did this. Why you lied to us. Stole from Dad. Worked with that sleaze. She looked away, her jaw tight. You wouldn't understand, she said. You've always been so perfect. You and your father, with your simple lives. You don't know what it's like to want more. More? I laughed, bitter and incredulous. You had us. You had a family. Wasn't that enough? She met my eyes, and for the first time, I saw something raw, unguarded. No, she whispered. It wasn't. Her words were a punch to the gut. All those years, her smiles, her hugs, her promises, they were a lie. She'd wanted a different life, one where she was more than a small-town wife and mother. And Richard had given her a taste of it, at the cost of everything we held dear. I left the station, my heart heavy with a truth I didn't want to face. Mom wasn't just a fraud. She was a stranger. I drove to Sarah's office, needing to know what came next. Richard's cutting a deal, she told me, her voice grim. He's giving up names, dates, accounts. Your mom's at the center of it all. So what happens now? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Trial, Sarah said. Maybe a plea deal, if she cooperates. But Emily, the evidence is overwhelming. She's looking at years in prison. Years. The word echoed in my mind. I thought of Lily, of Dad, of the life we'd had before I found that email. Had I done the right thing? Or had I destroyed us all? I went to see Lily, desperate to mend what was left of our bond. She was in her room, packing a bag. I'm staying with Aunt Karen, she said, not looking at me. I can't be here anymore. Lily, please, I said, stepping closer. I didn't want this. I was trying to protect us. Protect us? She snapped, her eyes blazing. You ruined everything. Mom's in jail. Dad's a mess. And everyone at school knows. You did this. Emily. I reached for her, but she pulled away, slinging her bag over her shoulder. I need space, she said, her voice breaking. Don't follow me. Watching her walk out was like losing a piece of myself. I sank onto her bed, surrounded by her posters, her clothes, the remnants of a life that felt so far away. I'd wanted justice, but all I'd gotten was pain. Dad was no better. When I found him at the store, he was closing up, his movements slow, deliberate. The bank's calling in the loans, he said, his voice flat. We might lose the house. I felt like I'd been slapped. Dad, I'm so sorry, I said, tears streaming down my face. I thought I was doing the right thing. He looked at me, his eyes tired but soft. I know you did, Emily. But sometimes the right thing hurts more than the wrong one. I left the store, my world crumbling. The trial was coming, and with it, the end of everything I'd known. Mom's lies had torn us apart, but my truth was finishing the job. I wondered if I'd ever find a way to heal the wounds I'd opened, or if I'd spend the rest of my life paying for the choice I'd made. Then Sarah called with one last piece of news. Mom was ready to talk. She wants to see you, Sarah said. She says she's ready to tell you everything. I didn't know if I could face her again, but I had to. For Dad, for Lily, for myself. I needed to know the truth, even if it broke me. The trial loomed like a storm on the horizon, casting shadows over every moment. I went to see Mom one last time, back in that cold, gray room at the police station. She looked smaller, her hair limp, her eyes hollow. The woman who'd once commanded every room was gone, replaced by someone I barely recognized. Emily, she said, her voice soft, almost broken. I'm sorry. I wanted to believe her, but I'd heard her apologies before. Why now? I asked, crossing my arms. Why tell me this after everything? She leaned forward, her cuffed hands resting on the table. Because I'm tired of lying, she said, and because you deserve to know why. She told me everything. How she'd met Richard at a charity event. How he'd promised her a way out of the small-town life she'd grown to resent. She'd felt trapped, suffocated by routine, by Dad's steady but unglamorous life. Richard offered excitement, wealth, a chance to be someone else. At first, it was small moving money, fudging numbers. But it grew, and she couldn't stop. She justified it, telling herself she was helping the family. But deep down, she knew it was for her. I didn't think you'd find out, she said, tears streaming down her face. I thought I could fix it before anyone knew. You didn't just hurt Dad, I said, my voice shaking. You hurt Lily. You hurt me. You broke us. I know, she whispered, and I'll never forgive myself. I wanted to scream, to tell her it was too late for apologies. But seeing her like that broken, human made it harder to hate her. She wasn't a monster. She was a woman who'd made terrible choices, chasing a dream that wasn't hers. I'm testifying against Richard, she said. I'm pleading guilty. I don't want you to fight for me, Emily. I just want you to know I loved you, even if I failed you. I left the station, my heart a tangle of anger and grief. Mom's confession didn't fix anything, but it gave me closure, a piece of the puzzle I'd been missing. I went home, hoping to find Dad, to start rebuilding. But the house was empty, the silence deafening. The trial came and went in a blur. Mom pleaded guilty, taking a reduced sentence in exchange for testifying against Richard. He was convicted on multiple counts, facing years in prison. The headlines screamed of justice, but it felt hollow. Dad's business was gone, sold to pay off the loans. The house was next, the banks circling like vultures. Lily was still with Aunt Karen, refusing my calls. I moved into a small apartment, trying to start over. I took freelance design jobs, piecing together a life from the wreckage. But every night, I lay awake, haunted by Mom's words, Lily's anger, Dad's broken eyes. I'd exposed the truth, but at what cost? One day, Lily texted me, "I'm ready to talk." We met at a coffee shop, her face guarded but softer than before. "I read about the trial," she said. "I know what Mom did. I didn't want to believe it." "I know," I said, reaching for her hand. She didn't pull away this time. I didn't want to believe it either. We talked for hours, crying, laughing, remembering the good times before the lies. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was a start. Dad was harder. He'd moved in with his brother, trying to rebuild. When I visited, he hugged me, his grip tight. "We'll get through this," he said. Together. It wasn't the family we'd had, but it was something. Mom's fraud had torn us apart. But the truth, painful as it was, gave us a chance to heal. I'd exposed her. Yes. And she'd claim I destroyed her life. But maybe, just maybe, I'd saved ours. Months later, I found a letter from Mom in my mailbox, written from prison. "Emily," it read, "I don't expect forgiveness, but I hope you'll find peace. You were braver than I ever was." I folded it carefully, tucking it away. I wasn't ready to forgive her, but I was ready to move forward, to rebuild with Dad and Lily, to find a new kind of family, one built on truth, not lies.